And shout out to Newman, who is now in California for a little while, a month and a half or so, and is picking up his special lady from the airport. Um, so yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a good time to kind of jump in, um, to really like what I think is kind of the perfect continuation from the meeting we had 3 weeks ago. That was really great. There was a lot of spaciousness there. It was really great to kind of reflect, and I feel like I carried that reflection on into into my break, and that it was really helpful. So there was a lot that was catalyzing for me, um, and so I feel like, and especially I know Natalie has like an hour today, so um, yeah, I thought we can kind of jump in and really the objective, like that I was saying, that I feel like would be helpful for this meeting is to just talk about like what are the goals and objectives, for this group, for this community, for the next little while. It's 2024, for the next year, for the next, 6 to 12 months. Because I think we have, developed, this kind of core group, that where we've worked together a lot and we care about each other, and there is a good trust here, and so as I was reflecting, I was thinking, oh, there's like different ways that we can go, and I don't and I think it'd be a good time to kind of like set some goals, and then we know, okay, well, what is the plan? um what does everybody really want to do? What can we do? What can we commit to? And of course, there's a reality, for me right now, that all of this is, kind of under this umbrella that, I'm having to figure out how to just like cut, hours, in projects, how to like, that was one of the realizations for me, is that it's not only like the amount of, the amount of hours, but also the amount of projects that I'm in, because every project I'm in is another place where my headspace like lives, and has to occupy, um, and and so it's good. I've been tracking time, and I just really need to do what I need to do in order to like, that's really my goal for the year, is to sort of get to a place where I feel like I'm generating enough income with the hours that I work, specific, for that, and then, have enough, space for projects that I'm not working, or that excuse me, projects that I'm not getting paid on, of which now that's the, like the majority of my time is sort of unpaid, even if it is projects that, that are income, that have income. So anyways, with all that preamble, I looked over this today, and I thought, wow, there's like a lot, different ways that we could go, and I looked over this, and I'm like, yeah, this is like 7 different ideas, for holistic systems. And so, I think that, I don't really need to explain like, in a sense, what we're trying to do. In lots of conversations, I think there's a way where we all kind of know what this shared purpose is. And really, I'm talking about here for like the holistic systems, for the cooperative. There is this other aspect of like team services that are being, actively sold to clients. But I think that that's, something that I'm kind of putting to the side now. So for this cooperative, it's really a lot of times, these, my conversations with people, with you all, um, it's like my words are coming out of your mouth, and your words are coming out of my mouth, and I think that we've all, um, really talked about so much what it is that we're trying to do, whether it's this, new way of working together, or, value exchange, or de-siloing, so all of that. So I'll just leave it with the idea that I think that, everybody here has a good grasp on that. Um, And really if we're talking, then jumping in, if we're talking about like kind of these ideas, I'll just sort of pop through them as quickly as I can. Um, the first one is just kind of continuing on with the current plan. I think what, had some good insights in December, and others may have different opinions about this, but, I think that we got to a point where there was at least kind of enough data about the member portal, to at least start to, make some, uh, some assertions on, what's happening there, what's working, what's not. In the member portal, it's interesting. I had a conversation with Vanessa, who kind of jumped in, a few weeks ago, and it was, it was really great, and it was great feedback, and when I was giving her the onboarding here, and I'll just kind of share my. Let me share my screen. Yes. I took her to the member portal for onboarding, and she had a really genuine reaction when she. Yes, I accept. Okay. Sorry, I just have to and prepare the page. My bad. Of course, you all know what this looks like, but I do think it's good to see. When she saw the member portal, and I kind of scrolled through folks, and she said, "Oh, that's like there's not a lot of people here. This is like a small group." And that's fair. And so I think, what I'm seeing happening with the member portal, right? Like it's this platform to see if we, want to facilitate something. I think it's demonstrated pretty well here, because there's like, there's a good amount, right? We have, like 21 different profiles or 20 profiles. But most of them are just, somebody filled out the initial form and then that's it, and there's nothing actually, in here. And so, that's good feedback. I think that's, telling me something. And so, my thought really about at least the present time, member portal, and then we're experimenting with Coordinate, we might be experimenting with DAOs, all of this, is that my sense is that people are really interested in this and people would love to jump in. But that, it's most people are not in a position to come and like build something. Most people would come in if there's a fairly kind of completed platform, that works, that has a fairly simple onboarding, that there's, okay, we've got kind of the system down. There's something, sure, I can come in, I can start exchanging value right away. I know how I'm doing it. I know what, mine is worth. I don't have to go to like, 3 different platforms and, and sign up for them and learn about Web3 and, all of that. And so, to me, that's kind of where I'm getting, as far as like, this, the exploration that we've been doing. So I think that they're just, they're probably, probably wants to be a modification, happening to that. And, I don't know if it's a small modification, or it's just something else. So, that's really kind of like number one is, what we've been doing. And, I don't know that, I think there's enough data now to say I'm not sure that it's effective just as it's going, which no problem. I mean, that's what we're doing. We're just exploring. The Natalie.
So if I can just, because it's been a lot of information that you're sharing. Like you started off saying that you're in a process of refining where your energy goes, but that you still want to be part of the holistic systems and trying to really define what that is creating. And so now we're going through the potential options of what HSC what shape can take on. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, thank you.
S- Super summary. Like
That's great. That's really hot. That's really helpful. I should I should just have you like, at my side,
like
at all
my own,
times. To-
just the
I can
AI
talk, I can
summary.
talk for 5 minutes and then I'll just point to you and then you'll summarize it and people be like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Right, right.
But I think,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think, thank you. I think that's a good reflection. And I think these are just, my ideas for where it could go. But I think that the points you're hitting is, I have to take into account, how much time I personally have to coordinate. And so that plays into it. Number two, I think it's good for the group to have some specific goals and objectives or just a specific plan or idea of what we're moving towards. And then number three, what do we want that to be? What do we think that is? So it could just be, do what we're doing. Um, so I will try and go through these briefly. So, what a second idea, right, is to really like develop is more like development, so is saying let's develop like the tokenomics. Let's develop, the tokenomic, like let's develop like the internal value exchange ecosystem, how that works, right? So, there's a way where I think that could work, with tokenomics, with using, blockchain platform. And if we, that's something where it's just say, okay, well, let's just develop that, and think about that and come up with something that works, develop the tools, and then we can, kind of present that to the world. So that's an idea. Um, and within that plan, there's a way where there could be, in this token, there could be like an actual cash out, exit. So that might be more incentivizing for people to join. A third idea, is to really there, like as we've gone along, there are other groups who are trying to do very similar things. There are other groups and there are other people who are trying to do similar things. One thing is to say, well, we could just, sort of take our energy and just start, reaching out to these other groups, in a more active way, developing relationships with these groups. And then if there's, a group of rather than just a group of people, if there's a group of groups, maybe that's enough resources, for everyone to decide, hey, let's try this plan. Um, so just doing that, I think has merit. It's kind of a subset of that, but I've been talking with GaiaNet, and GaiaNet it has a very, very similar ideas and plan. As holistic systems, their plan and strategy is much, broader, but, there's a way where, you know, they said, hey, would you want to come in and start, helping us and working with us? That's reasonable, but there's a way where, we could take our efforts and just sort of like, you know, join them up, sort of go into the GaiaNet group and community because they've got more resources. They're a little farther ahead than holistic systems. So that's another idea. Okay, this is just something that came in. We could keep it simple. We keep saying like, okay, well, this is like Fiverr, but if everybody co-owned it, well, that's not actually it's not a bad idea. Could just make a pitch, I mean, that's a pretty easy pitch. It's just like a Web3 version of Fiverr that's co-owned. The challenge there that I think is that it's like, I think that would be more of like a marketplace. Basically just saying like, hey, we're making like you know, it's just like a co-owned, co-facilitated, marketplace. Um, and maybe you have a pitch for that. You develop that and you go out and you try and get funding. It's not a bad idea. I don't know that it's like fully in alignment with what we're trying to do, but another idea, and so this is, kind of an idea that I said, well, this might be realistic, might make sense, is to take the folks we have. So in other words, like the folks who are here, or take, however many people really, want to do this and say, well, let's just like start really small and have a core group of people who are saying, okay, well, we're going to show up, maybe the meetings are different, each week. We're going to show up every week. We're going to show up every other week. And we're going to just work on like trying to help meet each other's needs and, provide offerings. So rather than worrying about, like really coming down small, and maybe forget the member portal, just make it a spreadsheet, something that we can, right? Other people can pop in and pop out, but if there's a core, enough, and we can say, okay, well, let's, I might not have the skill set, but like, if Zoe has a need, I might not have the skill set, but I might know, like we can all go and be like searching for Zoe, it's like Zoe has a need, and now there's like 5 or 6 people that are like actively searching for that, and there's not so many people, and vice versa. Um, and then this, is kind of could pop in on that. I do think it's an interesting idea, but like, one thing we haven't really actively done is, try and bring in like, helpers, healers, and wellness practitioners. I know lots of them, I have, and Saya and I could, talk about that. I have many years, of meeting amazing, practitioners and people, who are working as independent contractors or solopreneurs. And maybe that's, something that could be needed. Maybe if you take professionals and then you pop in some wellness practitioners, maybe the professionals, they need wellness help. And then the wellness practitioners, they really need professional help. So, kind of develop that, that specific kind of slant to it. That's it. Those are kind of like, those are my ideas, my thoughts, and hopefully, it's not that any of them are good, bad, or otherwise. But I think hopefully hearing those, and then with, the kind of summary that Natalie, shared, that gives you an idea of really what, what I'm thinking about and what are the steps we want to take, as a group in 2024. And that's not even including, right? There's almost like a final and eighth idea, which is basically saying, oh, well, let's come together. Let's like, team up and actually sell our services, which is that, the more services part, which is kind of another idea. So thank you for hearing all of that, for being here. I would love to now just open it up to folks to add in other ideas, right? Or B, talk about like, well, what are your thoughts? If you were in this group and you're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to accomplish, yeah, how would we use the folks and the resources that we have here, to do that? And what might be the methodology for the next, 6 to 12 months? And any and all feedback on, anything I said is of course welcome.
Sorry.
I'm sure. I was gonna wait for other people to go first, but I could go first. Okay. So as usual, the option that Rob listed, the last option, do people remember which one that was?
Healers and helpers.
Yeah, that's part of it. So I'll try to reiterate what Rob said, but I'm not like Natalie, who's great at summaries. It was a more simplified version of a DAO. Maybe takes less effort and less technical like infrastructure, where it might just be a Excel sheet and people just kind of manually looking at it and finding, oh, I could help fulfill that need, or that sort of simplified version. There's a part of me that always has a sigh of relief when I hear Rob propose that version, because running a full tokenomics economy sounds like a lot of work. And I'm one of those people who struggle learning new applications and technologies. However, if there are enough people who are interested in doing that stuff, I'm interested in watching how it unfolds, a real DAO, you know. But if time and energy is an issue right now, for Rob especially, I feel like we could try to achieve something thriving in a simplified version. It's kind of that MVP idea again. Can we achieve a minimum viable product just using Excel or Coordinate or something a little more simple? Yeah. That's my thought.
Thank you.
My, I, so, for me, it's about like a product market fit. You know, it's like, you know, there's all kinds of options for people, for entrepreneurs and for organizations and businesses to go with, like local freelancers, you know, local companies, you know, Fiverr, Upwork, whatever, right? So there's every day as we speak, there's more and more and more people that are like leaving corporate reality behind and starting their own thing. But they only have like their skill set, and they still need all of these other skill sets that, like you said, like you don't have the time to become a master of tokenomics and of DAO governance and all of this, Web3 sort of cutting edge stuff, but you would like to watch it unfold and participate in it if somebody else can take ownership of handling those more technical things. At the end of the day, the DAO platform is our option for company formation. It's like, do we want to create a corporation? Do we want to create essentially that? Do we want to create a corporation, or do we want where there's a hierarchy, and there's a C-suite and the CEO and everybody works for that person? Or do we want a flattened model where we're all independently governed, but we're all like owners of the whole system? That's the difference between Upwork, where you have millions of people providing services, and you have a small group of people earning all of the transactional income off of that. So in our case, it's like we still want to provide services like Upwork, potentially, but then like those transactional costs that go to the company, to the network, to the DAO, we also become owners of that DAO, automatically by just providing services that are helping to grow the DAO or grow the company. So you're not, it's like if you work for Upwork and you're getting a stock option every time you do a job. That's all. We're not reinventing the wheel. It gets really complicated because we're on the cutting edge here, but it's really just, like, we're creating companies and startups where the workers are the owners. They're not just like service for the owners. That's it. That's all we're really changing in the construct here. It's just making it so that, like, as I go through my life and I serve other companies and I'm gaining a piece of the pie, So yeah, it's 2024. Web3 is moving along. Blockchain is infiltrating every sector now, and so we have an opportunity to try things out. But it's not necessarily worth our time to just kind of experiment for the sake of experimenting. It's much easier when we have, the real projects to like work on, that have some sort of trade value, some sort of economic value coming into the project fund. and then we're splitting up that project fund. That's much easier. So so it's like chicken egg situation. It's like selling services of healers and helpers to help your organization thrive, to help your organization grow, starting with 1, 2, 3, clients that, Rob brings to the table, or I bring to the table, or whoever brings to the table. And then, like right now I'm working on building a Alter Brain Trust, and that requires web development, production, post-production, marketing, all of this stuff. But as usual, the the budgets are stretched. You're trying to build a startup for 10 grand, which is better than zero. But it's but it's a case of like getting the return. So like we get the minimum amount that we need in the now so that we can like survive and like do our thing, but we're getting a piece of the return of that startup. And so that's what I'm doing now with Alter Brain Trust. And I'm trying to get them to like start up a DAO so that then like I can put in, the contributions that have been paid out in cash, but that extra value that is not paid out in cash is measured in that DAO, so that when they start earning money, then I can redeem that banked value, that pay it forward, so that we can help people grow, meet their bottom line, help them. The whole point of all this for me, of HIFA, a DAO, is just to have a way that I can help startups grow, do it for less cash now, and then I'm essentially helping to take risk with them. I'm investing in their project, and then I have an automatic way, a transparent way to like make sure that I get a return if they're successful. If they're not, they're not. But at least if they are, the system will provide that sort of return, for futures, so that I'm getting like futures on companies that I'm helping to grow. And we want to, and it's really hard right now for us to do this because the tech is so new. The concept is easy to grasp, but like the manifestation is a little bit harder. Doesn't need to be that hard, but it definitely needs us just to like make a decision, like what we're doing. So I feel like that we can go to market as a community, as an ecosystem, to help organizations and help entrepreneurs and startups grow. And we can do it, with this sort of mindset. Like, we can help you grow, and if you can't afford to pay us like market rates, that's okay. We can defer some of that, as long as there's a mechanism, where we're getting a piece of the pie. And it's really hard outside of the DAO world for us to do this. So, but there's plenty of those. There's plenty of those. Like Gaia, you were talking about GaiaNet, they want some help. They're right now going, working on setting up their HIFA stuff. I've been tracking a little bit. So theoretically, there would be an opportunity for people to provide like services within that ecosystem for marketing or for whatever. It's just always about like, what does somebody need? What can they provide? And then for us to sort of showcase our abilities. It's going to be a lot easier just getting like real clients, a business owner that needs services, and then we can come in and help support them on setting up their business, their operation. And because we don't have enough people, or it's too risky for us to like do like a classic marketplace like an Upwork or something right now, I think. And we're fighting an uphill battle right there. There's, without having like investment, without having capital to handle that and all the risk associated with that. But we can like be a boutique agency type, hey, you need support, we can provide these, creative brand, digital marketing, web dev and business operational support potentially, and other like coaching support. So that's, it's just, like what is our offering to go to market for like a new startup or new business, and then doing that. And as far as how we handle that sort of DAO stuff on the back end, like we can play with that. I'm dedicated to it because I know that it is the future, but it's still like we're still in prototyping phase. So we don't want to like bottleneck our abilities to earn economy on that. So that's just my thoughts.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Basil. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's great to hear all of it. Natalie or Saya?
I can share a little bit. Basil, it's nice to meet you. I've seen the others, I think, on one other call. What's coming to mind for me mostly is about relationship. And as you get to know me, you'll hear me come back to that a lot. And that's kind of how I got connected to what's happening here, from knowing Rob through long time healing work and other communities. And I think that's mostly what I'm looking for here, like personal and professional relationships that help us all thrive. Whether that's skill sharing, whether that's client referrals, whether it's group offerings on the marketplace, that all sounds great. I'm less interested in like joining a really big network that feels anonymous. At this point, I see the efficiency of that, but it doesn't get me excited. What's gotten me excited is being in small groups with you all and going, oh yeah, rah, 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 yeah. And that feels good. Thinking about circles I've been involved with in the past. I've been in, for example, like women's circles for most of my adult life. And when I'm part of a circle that's like 4 to 5 members, I know that my participation matters. I know that if I show up, it makes a difference. If I think about going to the women's gatherings that are like once every 2 months, everyone's invited, blah, 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 I may or may not show up for that. It's a very different level of engagement. And well, I feel excited about showing up more here. I feel excited about really using the tools and platforms that are already set up to collaborate with you all, to exchange skills and ideas and offerings. I'd also love to see it not be a lot of work for any one person. So I did, just right before this meeting, really start to go through and think about, oh, what are the things I could offer that would help? I'm not a professional grant writer, but I could research grants and, start to figure out that side of how do we all get supported. So if I think about what's next, I wonder, like, how do we all sort of up our game here with what's already here so that it's not all Rob showing up, so that we engage more with what's already here and build on it, I guess. I know that a network of many people can be robust, but how do we also scale it so that we feel like our participation matters, so that we engage, right? That's what I've got at the moment. Might circle back. Something else might come that's not here right this minute.
Thank you. Thank you, Saya. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thanks for that and for thinking about things before. And yeah, thank you. Natalie.
I like what was just said about the aspect of, you know, connection versus large anonymous groups. That feels true. And so does the, you know, the things Basil was saying about the challenges being faced in Web3 and being able to kind of stay on the entrepreneur kind of edge of it and play to the advantage of doing this setup now and gaining benefit once more it becomes more commonplace. And I honestly don't have much for feedback. I think I'm slow to process and digest right now. I know that personally I'm coming into some big changes, and may not be available online for the next 2 months. So that may be part of it too.
That's a big change.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll miss you.
Thank you.
I'm taking some notes from what everyone has said and just rereading them a bit right now.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe I'll post them
Yeah,
in the
and
chat.
I'm taking notes from what folks said as well, in the meeting notes document.
Of course.
Thanks for the feedback. So yeah, I mean, I think to read, you know, maybe you know, reflect what we're, I don't know, Zoe, do you want to reflect back what everybody said?
Sure.
Yeah.
I felt
Or what
like
you
every
heard, people say. Yeah.
sure. I felt like what Sia said really resonated with how I feel about why I come here and why I continue to come here, because it's a nice community and I get to learn things from different people, all sorts of things. And I have this feeling that the community is growing in a natural, like non-crazy way, a nice, natural, organic way, where that in the future I have visions of beautiful skill shares, learning everything from cooking to Dong talking about philosophy and all sorts of stuff, which will be really rich and beautiful. And on top of that, there is this dedication, like CS said, to professional development. I guess it's personal and professional development. And as a freelancer who's feeling very isolated all the time, that's such a great feeling. So I feel like all of that like all my dreams will be fulfilled even without a DAO. But if enough people want to do DAO, of course, go for it. But just know that I'm already happy with Skillshares and community.
Thank you. Yeah. You know, it's really good feedback. I mean, I think what, you know, and just to say like what I'm hearing, I know that Natalie, yeah, you are processing, you like what you're hearing about, like sort of the connection rather than, large anonymous groups. Right. But also, right, there's benefits to staying on the kind of entrepreneurial edge of the Web3 world. But I am hearing from Zoe and Saya, fairly similar perspectives. Which, I mean, yeah, to me seems doable, right? I mean, I think the idea and what I'm, trying to, it seems like, get across, right, is, it's just at least for now, the limited amount, of time, in the sense that I think if we want, the group to, to kind of carry on and continue on, which I would love for it to, yeah, I mean, it's like Saya said, I took a note of it, like it, love, she's, said she'd love to see, see it be not a lot of work for any one person. So, how to, right, how to be able to like keep it going, and sort of say, okay, this is what we want to try and do. These are sort of, our goals, and, and then, right, have that be facilitated or coordinated, by all members of the group. And, and there is there is a question there, right, for everybody, or a question for, yeah, a question for everybody, but which is, like, and I think, Sai, you said it beautifully, it's like that, if it's a group of 4 or 5 people, that are, if there's 4 or 5 people, if there's a group that size, then your participation matters, and it sort of it's like the whole, a lot of the group continuing on, depends on you. And so, yeah, I think that is a choice that, everyone, should think about, think about where, what resources, they have. And, but I think it's, right. I do think that it's workable, right? I mean, that was, that was a specific idea. Say, okay, well, like, let's really sort of like see if we have a core group, and then just keep doing what we're doing, but within that core group, and then, right, you have 4, 5, 6 people, like we're saying, maybe up to 7 people or something. You don't really need tokens. You can use coordinate, right, and that can be fun, but you don't need, you don't need a whole tokenomics kind of thing, and so, it can get simple, and, maybe, and we can figure out where the value comes from, in those personal and professional relationships. Basil, just to reflect, on what you're saying, like, I love the, I love the idea. I love the tokenomics and the DAOs and the, and, the group, services. I think that there's just the challenges there that are the ones that we've seen, like the challenges are like, are we ready to go to market, as a group, can we help startups? Meaning, like, as a group, is that set, or do we have, and not only can we do it from are we able, like, sort of set up to do it, but even are we able to then, like, support ourselves enough, with those Web3 startups coming in. My challenge now is like, is really a matter of like I can't take on any more projects. I have to start cutting, rather than taking on anymore. And, and that's I think that's part of my work, this year, right? I'll show you, just, I don't know, for fun. So I've been doing like time tracking. I love time tracking. And this is, if I can just share, when I was doing time tracking before, I used to track like all the tasks, all the different tasks. And, it's great, but it got to be too much, so I took a long break, and I'm coming back, and I'm saying, hey, I'm not going to like try and track every task. I'm just going to just track a project, you know, if I'm working on Haifa something, okay, there's Haifa. You know, if I'm working on, right, holistic systems, you know, there's a couple different things, but basically it's, right, it's just HSC, general work. All right. But it allowed me to, you know, bring in this, this chart here, you know, which was telling me, so this is the month of December, right? There's, you know, like, there's projects where there's, you know, these projects that I'm working on, there's a lot of learning, right? I'm having to learn a lot of tech, you know, and I'm not billing clients, you know, for my training, you know, for things that are just like, oh, I don't know how to do this, but this is the job they're paying me to do, right? So I need to cut down on that. So what's interesting is, right, that like this little chunk here, 8.1%, and right, this little chunk, 4%, this little chunk, 2%, and then this little chunk, 2%. So those little 4 chunks, that's it. That's all I'm getting paid for. You know, so that's just, you know, it's just interesting to me, you know, to see that and see that, oh, that's the reality. Now, do I actually care about, like, you know, working on projects where I'm not getting paid? No, but, you know, I don't know, we've been through all of this, like, we all got to eat. So that's what I'm trying to do, you know, is really pare down, you know, the time, you know, for paying clients where I'm really like learning how to, you know, really just getting, you know, paid for that work.
It was really cool to see.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But in my head, the ecstatic dance, you were actually dancing for those chunks of time. So that's, I love
Yeah, it was
that.
a great image. It's really good.
Well,
Doing a bit of hyper work and then doing some like ecstatic dance in between. I like it. I like it,
I
Rob.
was so proud. Like, wow, you exercise a lot.
look at all that ecstatic day. See, that would be, yeah.
A
None of
different
that is
life,
me
for
doing the
sure.
actual thing. It's me just supporting the people doing it. But that is awesome. Natalie, you nailed it. That would be like the real, like a goal as far as like my personal life, you know, to get back to actually doing ecstatic dance, which I love, you know, and I was doing a lot of pre-pandemic. Doing more of the actual ecstatic dance and less of the on the website, you know, figuring out how to fix their website.
Yes, of course. But so you would just track like your hours, you just keep them in a spreadsheet and then you turned it into that graph essentially. So
I use where is I just use a you know, there's Harvest is a good one, and this is another good one that I use called T-Metric. They're both free, you know, fully robust enough for you know, for a single individual person. It's just when you start getting into teams, you know, you need to pay for them. But this one and Harvest, right? And so this is my, you know, I have to, you know, pop in, right? Holistic systems today. This, right? So I put in 3 categories, but it's all under the same project, right? So I needed to start that actually at 3. So that's fine. I just change it.
nice.
And that's it, right? So this is my day, you know, so you can go back and, you know, see your days. And, you know, I'm bouncing around, you know, too much. I mean, you have these days and it's like, I don't know, it's a little ridiculous. And then you just have your reports, you know, so I want, what's my, you know, where am I at the current week? How many hours did I work last week? You can export them as a CSV, right? And then put them into, you know, something very simple like this, or you can, well, where'd it go? You know, or you can export it as a PDF. And these are, you know, I give clients like these reports as well.
Wow.
In some cases.
Right on.
I just want to take a quick minute to like call myself in a way. I talked about relationships before, and it's at this point in my life that I'm really aware that I've spent a lot of my time and energy like deeply invested in relationships. And now I also really want to make money. So hearing Basil talk about market and this and that, like that is good for me. And even though my habit is to emphasize my relationships, my family, my parenting, my women's circle, like I also want to run a business and a successful one. So just wanted to name that out as like, that's part of why I'm here. I'm not just here to chit chat and meet you lovely people. But
What
also
is the core offering of your services?
my services.
Yeah.
That is an elevator pitch I'm working on, actually.
Well, you don't need to pitch me, but just
Yeah,
sort
what's
of
the
like
current version of it?
The current version, yeah. So the current version is that I'm a content writer and editor, and I show up in like an embodied present way with people. So there can be a coaching element, there can be an administrative like support element. But I've written social media, I've written books, I've helped people write the text for their websites, programming, helping them develop their educational programs. Yeah.
Okay, so like so okay. So with like, for instance, with what I have need for right now is 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 better worlds, which is my main startup project. Um, that needs copywriting support, you know. Um, that needs monthly monthly operation support, weekly operation support, social media, LinkedIn post, things like
Right.
that. um and so I can like show you like what we're doing, and then show you the gap, and then we can like carve out like hopefully some sort of little budget initially. And part of, since that is a nonprofit effort, we're being financed right now from the founder in LA, Mike Mitchell. Um, but we're about to start going after like, grant and sponsors. Um, I just I just did like a week of YouTube advertising last week for the YouTube channel. And that worked quite nicely, $400 invested, like 100 new subscribers, almost 2 million impressions, and like almost 50,000 new views for that content. But yeah, like so like the copywriting, that's the whole publishing platform. That's like endless need for that. Tomorrow we start a new podcast. I recruited a woman, Laura Burks. She used to be the chief sustainability officer, Hewlett Packard, worked for WTO, World Economic Forum. She lives in Montana, kind of off grid, but she's in Brussels right now. She just got there. Tomorrow we start recording a new podcast series called Nature, Tech, and Action. Is probably going to be the name. And we interview Nicole Miller, who's the head of Biomimicry 3.8, where they help businesses learn from nature in their operations, in their product development, but especially in their operations, their human resources, learning from nature on that. So that tomorrow's podcast recording will be around that stuff. And then she goes to Davos next week, and we're going to start working on this concept show. It's a little more produced, kind of a TV kind of produced thing. But yeah, I mean, just today I was like, I need a managing editor. I mean, you don't have to be a managing editor, but I need more like, support on that side, And we leverage AI tools, obviously, but that still needs human,
Yeah.
Human. So that's something.
Great.
That's
Well,
like,
I'm happy to talk more about all of that. It all sounds really good. And I could totally geek out about systems based on nature. Not that I know that much, but love hearing about it. Yeah.
Good, good, because that's like the focus is nature-based solutions and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Great.
that's and
Yeah.
that and Rob is already like connected, his analytics, calculation thing to that website so that we can start tracking, things. So and then Dominic is, we're focused on like the state of the DAO as another show that's to sort of, talk about, what's going on in that space, in that Web3 sort of decentralized space. Uh, and so for me, that gives us an opportunity for like a small group to work together to actually build something, um, rather than being like spread out, everybody doing their own thing, but we are all we're all part of the same thing. And for me, that is like what I'm looking for with what we're doing here is like, how do we get the efficiencies of like corporation, but with like this circle-based, human-centric operational thing where we're not under the pressure of performance and like performance reviews and all of that. I mean, we have that stuff, but it's really like each one of us needs healing. Each one of us needs coaching and several coaches around us. So it's like, how do we create that new world kind of operation where we can actually get shit done, but it's like healthy and it's healing and we're not stressed about like, did we fail? There is no failure. We want to create that space. And so that's what I've been doing and bootstrapping, but I am also like Rob, just one human stretched way too thin, and I've hit my walls of what I can do, and I need more, it's time for that sort of, yeah, for that, just needs to be like create a healthy environment,
Yeah.
for us to play together and like make that economically viable, so that's for me, that's what 2024 is about, is just increasing the flow rate of the capital and like increasing the performance of our operations, and just like kind of hardening like the small teams that we're working with, but just like getting a little more tight on that. And then when we keep it all together like that, then we're still able to get that sort of DAO experimentation stuff done on the side, but if we're just like focusing on trying to do that, I think we're missing the point. Let's focus on like the tangible outcomes, the tangible results of like creating a media platform that reaches millions of people. That's the goal. And then we have all those sort of operational tasks, but we execute it in a more flattened way, and like learn how to like cover for each other and learn how to have each other's backs and things over time, and form circles like writer circles, editor circles, and then just show that it's possible to like operate a media network in this very human, heart-centric way. That's sort of my agenda.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if it's just for money and it's just for like corporate and it's just for X, like I have no interest. If we're not really like, this is what, for me, that's why HSC was important, is because it was grounded in that heart-centered way, without the tangible outcomes yet, but at least like that sort of core, whatever it is that it does, will have that heart, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And I think that's something, yeah, that everybody is aligned on, and that it needs that, because if it loses that heart-centered approach, then then it doesn't matter. We lose everything that we're trying to do. So it sounds like, sort of kind of continuing on with that thread that Basil was talking about, it sounds like, at least from what I'm hearing from, the folks who are here, or maybe what I'm hearing specifically from like Asaya and Zoe, is that we're saying maybe the way to, to develop that and get to that place where we have these circles, we have these teams, is just to start with one circle. And it's not even to start with one circle and say, oh, now this circle, is like now the team, that, it's more like this circle is the team where we're just kind of like figuring out how to, how to work as a team, how to help each other, how to help, in a big way, the more tangible goal has always been how to help each other, make enough money. It's not how to, I don't know that anybody's here to say, okay, like I'm here to figure out how to get rich, but it's like, no, to make enough money, to make enough reasonable, amount of livelihood, and have skill sets where I can, in the foreseeable future, like it's very reasonable that I can continue to do that. The more that I develop my skill sets as I go along, the more that that livelihood is likely to continue. Especially in a, if you're in a group. So I think that's the idea. And then the more that each of us is able to do that, the more each of us is able to optimize in our pie charts, optimize those hours that we're working, specifically hours we're working where we're saying, okay, well, this is, I'm working here and I'm trying to earn an income in these hours. The more we can all optimize that, then the more we can experiment and explore, and develop, right? And then start to develop teams. Because I'd love to, Zoe is like a perfect sort of complementary, example professionally for me, right? Because I'm working in sales and marketing, and an aspect that's always sort of needed there these days is social media. And I cannot do, I'm not, it's not for me to be the social media manager.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to say, yeah, I can't wait till we work together again on another project. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so I guess that's the question, is where do we is there a group, like how are things structured? Because, really like the meetings, I've kind of been holding the space, and the idea has been, hey, Rob's going to hold the meeting and facilitate the meeting every week, and going to be kind of facilitating the platforms. And if you're able to show up, you show up. And if not, not. And, how, like what are other people sort of interested in and, agreeing to? And, if we want to do something, then, how do we make it so that it's, on all of us, right? So I guess that does require, you get that commitment, you get that engagement, you get that community, but it does require, a sort of next level commitment than I think that I've ever, sort of asked of anybody.
Well, if you let us pick up some of the blocks, you do us a favor. It's good for all of us.
That was so well put.
It's beautiful.
I would like to go off of what Sia said. Am I saying your name right? Sia?
Saya. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't make sense in Portuguese. I know.
Saya. It's okay. I suck at Portuguese too. I'm from America. I'm learning. What Saya said, so concretely, how can we move forward in picking up some of the blocks? I have two options that we've been like talking about, but not concretely asking for, which is paying a monthly membership or sliding scale or something, and that money can either help pay Rob or whoever is doing a lot of the core organizing work, or keep it free and literally pick up blocks, and maybe every first Tuesday Rob will lead the meeting. Every second Tuesday Natalie will, except Natalie's gonna be gone and we'll miss her. Like taking on tasks or giving you money is my question.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's a good, it's a good model. It's a little, right? Like, I think putting money into a pot, I think that there are things, right, when we're talking about like these new designs, nested circle organizational structures and DAOs, in Web3, I think that part of that is what what we naturally sort of developing, is like there's not, there's that self-managed kind of organization, and then there's something to putting money into a pot, because then you have a community treasury, even if it's just a little bit. But there's something where like, it's like if let's say, okay, Rob is going to continue to sort of hold all the blocks, and do those and carry them around. Like, how much would everybody have to put in a month, to actually like pay me so that I could do that and make that like reasonable livelihood? Probably be a lot. So maybe there's, like there's merit to putting money in. But I don't know that at this point there's, that model sort of like really pays for people to do the work. Yeah.
Yeah. I was picturing more the model of like taking actions, like myself signing up for tasks and doing them. And I guess what I'm hearing too is that there is a need to simplify, and you've been doing maybe so many things. Well, maybe some of those things just go away, right? Maybe there are aspects that are actually not relevant. They're not necessary for the group to be investing in right now. And they go on the shelf until the time is right. Like some of what I got from what you were saying, Basil, is that we have these big visions about where this goes and how it's changing the world, and it's the future of work and community and finances, and we may need to get to those examples, those like opportunities to work together, like to develop how it works to some extent. If there is a project that 4 of us are on, then we'll learn a lot about what it's like to be 4 of us on a project. And we'll learn a lot about what's necessary to make that work. Although some of you may already have a lot of knowledge about that. So some phrase is coming about like starting where we are. And there's been a lot of start before I got here. I'm very aware of that. So thank you all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I think, yeah, I think that's also one of the benefits, if we're saying, okay, what are our goals? What do we want to do? What are we trying to do? It doesn't mean that, it has to, turn out like that, but we could say, what are our goals, for the next 3 months? How do we want to start? Like start from where we are, for sure. Yeah. And then how do we want to start? And then maybe it's just as simple as like, I mean, maybe we use, the take away the platform, maybe we use, spreadsheets. Or maybe there's, there's 2 spreadsheets. There's ones with we pad our needs and offerings, and there's ones where we just have kind of the tasks. And so I think if we, that is a way to proceed forward, is to say, okay, like what are we trying to do? Given you know, in a little bit more, like, I think that we're in alignment with kind of what we're trying to do, but like in a little more tangible way, you know, and then, okay, you know, what's kind of the plan? What are the tasks and all of that? Yeah.
I would just like maybe to propose that that like next week's meeting is an extension of this conversation. I'm not sure how you are all about time, but I know that we're like over time right now. And if anybody
Mhm.
like needs to go, I'm sure you say, I gotta go.
Not
But it would be
technically. Usually, a lot of
before we
times
get-
these meetings go like 2 hours. So,
Oh, okay.
you know.
Okay. That's cool. It's just nice to like conclude something before somebody's right at the moment of like, I gotta go. Bye. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Natalie, any thoughts on any of this?
Um, my next meeting did cancel on me. Apparently they're sick, so there's less of a rush for me to leave. But mhm. I like what I'm hearing. Yeah. I'm just having a hard time understanding where I fit in at this point because yeah, the priority for finding money has superseded so many other things in my life. So um and I find myself having a hard time imagining that happening online. And I keep putting myself in positions of like looking at like I don't know, things in my immediate surroundings that I can um get involved with. So um but I mean online stuff is becoming more and more realistic. And yeah. Um yeah, I don't know. Again, very slow to process things today and um yeah.
I
That's all I
feel
got.
Yeah, and can I just name, you know, Natalie, that there's just there is a lot going on, you know, in your life now, and a tremendous amount of transition. And yeah, so it just feels like there's you know there is a lot up in the air, you know.
Yeah, so it makes it very hard to imagine right now, especially. I wanted to be here just to stay connected with the group, but yeah, it's I'm kind of moved into survival mode at this point in my life, so it's like yeah, getting creative is a slower process. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just reminded, and I don't know you really hardly at all, Natalie, but what's coming to mind is something that my yoga teacher trainer said, that if you want to come to the yoga class and all you do is lie down in the back, you're still participating. You're still in the energy. And that is a totally adequate way to attend a yoga class.
Nice. Thank you.
Offer
That's
that
very
to you.
nice.
There's always a mat for you, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, I think that's true. I've
Yeah,
done
'cause
that in yoga classes and
yeah.
meditations and a lot of things.
Yeah, like I've always believed in the like the core values of what's being presented with HSC is great, but I'm just noticing that like the world capacity to take those necessary steps towards collaboration is if it feels like a lead weight. You know, So yeah, part of it is like my own resistance with like hopelessness and, you know, aware of like how much like war and climate threat there is. And so it's like, that's what I mean. There's like a large part of me is at like a survival level of like operation. And so, yeah, it is essential for us to, you know, have the like self-sovereignty and all the components required for one's own like health and survival and wellness in the immediate surroundings, and then, you know, it becomes with the community and those around you. And nowadays the community is like extended beyond, you know, your own family and friends, and because of the access to internet. And my understanding of like how that can impact is I'm like currently in like a learning process of how to work with other humans online, and it's proving um it's proving to be very challenging when others don't show up or, you know, whatever things left, there's like a lot of unknowns. So yeah, I don't have a clear outline of like the next steps, the next like possibilities or realities. Like it's all a little fuzzy for me. So that's all I got.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I hear that. Yeah, you're at that place where it's there's a lot fuzzy. There's also, you know, I think probably a lot of possibilities.
Right. From the right perspective. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, like cultivating that within yourself, but then how do you inspire that in other people? Right? What's the old incentive was, yeah, like a paycheck, right? Like people would show up because they're getting paid. But in a community venture, what is it?
Yeah.
What's the incentive? I guess it's that human relationship, but
I think that
But
there's,
you
I
can
mean, that's,
actually,
oh yeah,
yeah.
no, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say that, you know, the new studies about like blue zones and longevity. Heard a radio program recently that some of our relational wealth can be quantified. Like people who attend church, for example, let's see if I can get the figure right. Like that adds 10 years to your life. I know this is not a church, but right, it's providing some of this social fabric that in our nuclear family hybrid work model, remote work, like is missing. So I'll just offer that as a nugget. If we're looking for like evidence of why these kinds of things are important beyond how it feels like it's quantified, there are ways to do that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I know. And those are like, yeah, fascinated, you know, by all of that and by quantifying it. And that's, you know, I mean, these are things I think about a lot, right? This is the model, you know, and that's why I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to go into hopelessness, even though I know that it's not like there's not, you know, I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but like, I I just to me everything I see and know and feel and can quantify, you know, says that, you know, collaboration is works better than competition. You know, so I feel like we're, you know, it's a struggle, it's an uphill battle against the, you know, you know, uphill walk against the systems that are in place. But I feel like it's, I don't know, as far as working together, like just nature and physics and the laws of the friggin' universe are on the side of that. Not to, you know, make a sides or polarity, but you know, it's just you know, it just works. In fact, yesterday, you know, I was sort of writing the email, you know, yesterday's email, and I went off on, you know, this whole thing, and it could be an interesting email or blog post or something, but just about like who you are, right? You know, and everybody says, well, you know, if you want to like find a partner, you want to nail your job interview, you know, just be who, you know, just be yourself, right? That's the phrase, just be yourself, which I think is totally true. That works. But the trick is like, who are you? How do you know who you are? And I think that is another way, right? It's another one of this big list, you know, of what I think, you know, we get, you know, and in this professional sense, you know, personal and professional, but like part of the less quantifiable aspects of what you get in this kind of collaboration, right? Because you figure out who you are, you know, in a lot of ways in relationship, and especially in a safe place, safe enough place. You know, you figure out, right, and you know, in a very practical way, it's like, what is my elevator pitch? You know, what am I, right? That's been a lot of my work lately, you know, is saying, okay, well, like, how do I tell you in one sentence, you know, what exactly I do? Like, I want you to pay me money. This is why you would pay me money. This is my value. This is how I do it. This is my value to you. This is what you're going to get out of it in one sentence. And, you know, and I think so there's an immense value in discovering that. And I think, you know, that that's going to happen, you know, more efficiently and, you know, in a group setting to, you know, along with one's own personal work. So I don't know, just popping that in. Yeah, there's, you know, competition has, you know, it takes extra effort. You know, there's this extra effort that happens just in the, you know, the nature of it. When you're competing against each other, I would say, you know, first in a survival way. You know, not if you're like playing a fun game or something, it's competitive, but like, you know, for your in a survival mode that takes extra energy. And I would say that, you know, collaboration, there's an alchemy.
Collaboration
there
is
where it
the
takes.
hallmark of patriarchy.
Oh, what's that? I'm sorry. Say that again, please.
Oh, I said that competition is the hallmark of patriarchy, specifically like violent competition. But yeah, competitions. Yeah.
I like even like came back to, so I'm a pretty talented photographer, right? Back in my old days. And like in Portland, Oregon, I just dominated the market. Uh, uh, I go to Bangkok and you know, and I, you know, and then when I came back to America, I'd already retired from photography essentially, but you know, more on film side. But I came back into Tulsa, my hometown, small town, under 1 million people, 500,000 people or something, right? And you know, and there's photographers and filmmakers here. I came into this town knowing that if I had come out as professionally to like take clients, that I would outcompete them and they would all hate me. And I was like, okay, so I'm not going to do that. Let's create a platform where we kind of guild up and like we share, you know, and like, and so like all the writers, the photographers, filmmakers, like we're not, because there's only so much there's only so many clients, and there's a lot of talent, you know, in every market. And then in the old way, or this, like you say, this patriarchal way, it's like whoever's the strongest, the loudest voice, they win. And they take it all. They take the lion's share of all the money, of all the value. And then they put other people down that maybe are trying to come up, grow up. And I'm like, that's this old way that we have to get away from, you know, even when I first came to Rob, his like competition radar went up, you know, and he didn't know how to like handle me because I'm quite strong willed. But the end goal is like we need that sort of fire, because I'm double fire. I'm a generator. We need that fire, but we need it to be like we need it to be like held in the cauldron, or like embraced. We need the fire, and then we need to embrace it, and pacify it, or surrounded by water or whatever. But then we can like create the steam that we're looking for. We can do what we're doing. Otherwise, if I'm just like normal without that sort of feminine matriarchal matrimonial balance, mindset, then I would just burn everything down. I would just burn. So I have to give up on my own ambition or my own expectations in favor of like harmony, rather than that old patriarchal way that if you're not performing well, you're out. You're out. And I'm like, this is not the way. So yeah, so that's that competition. So what is it called now? It's called co-opetition. So we can work in cooperation and collaboration, and we help push each other to excellence, without so much expectation, and without like feeling bad from failure, because that's anyway, that's again rambling.
Yeah, competition. Yeah, thank you. This is it's a lot of good stuff, and it's inspiring as always. Well, I mean, I'm seeing the time. I mean, again, we sometimes, a lot of times we go 2 hours. I mean, this is, maybe that's a discussion, that we have as a group, going forward. How long, do we take a look at that time, the timing and the structure of meetings. But I would like to talk about, like practical steps, from here, because it's, I don't know. I mean, this is my current, present time perspective. Doesn't have to be right, but I feel like it's, like Saya said the number well, 4 to 5 people. I think if there's a group where it's a group that is, where the community is held, by a group, by multiple people, I think trying to do what we're trying to do, in this kind of personal, professional, up-leveling collaboration kind of way. I mean, what's coming to me is like there probably needs to be like at least 4 people, that are saying, okay, yeah, I'm making this commitment to hold the group, to co-hold the group. Maybe that's, not right, but I don't know. If I'm just thinking about group dynamics, suddenly you have, 3 is like like 3 is like, oh, okay, that's like that's a group of people. That's a tight kind of group, but but I don't know. 4 suddenly starts to be like, oh, now that there's it's like 4 pillars. I don't know. Saya popped something in, but I'm just trying to think, of that and of other practical, practicalities. Like, okay, and we can decide. Folks can decide. Okay, well, I can commit to meeting again next week, and then we'll just talk about this next week, and continue on.
Checking my calendar.
Does it help to have a deadline to it, to have a choice point, like how long do you keep doing just this conversation or these meetings, versus like sometimes, given deadlines help people. That's all I'm suggesting. Because yeah, like Newman's not here, maybe there's some other voices that want to contribute or have vision. And yeah, can you intuit from this point, Rob? Is there, like, because you stated you're using your time in multiple ways, and can you see how, when you want this kind of to take a direction so that.
Yeah, I think maybe, I think what can kind of help clarify the structure for folks maybe is like you know, clarifying what are the goals and objectives? You know, okay, so what do we like? What, you know, if you take away the number, you know, okay, oh, you need this number of people or that number of people, you know, you can say, well, what are we trying to do? You know, the folks who are interested. And then if you have that, you know, it's just general kind of, you know, organizational or project kind of planning and you know, you say, okay, what are the objectives? What do we want to do? Okay, and then what do we need? You know, what's the strategy for doing that? And then, okay, what is the plan or the action steps to do that? And what are the resources needed? And then, you know, finally, who's doing what? Right. And again, you know, that could be very simple. You know, we could just, you know, could just be like, oh, okay, well, let's take a month or 2 months and, you know, and just say, we're going to take 2 months and we're going to meet. We'll meet, you know, once a week and we'll figure out what that is. But it feels to me like that's, you know, there needs to be some kind of container, you know, and some kind of, right, like group goal and group purpose or group objective. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just want to read what Saya wrote. She wrote, I'm not attached to the number. It's more about knowing that participation matters. And what are the expectations? What can I give and agree to?
It could be 10 people. It could be knowing that if I'm not at a meeting one week, somebody's going to notice, right? I'm not anonymous. If I've got a lot going on or my kid is sick, I might feel the need to communicate that and say, I'm sorry, I can't show up this week. I'll miss you guys. I'll read the notes, right? It's that kind of involvement that I'm thinking about.
Well, can we meet Saya? Yeah. So I can just show you what we're doing and just get your, so you can, yeah, you should see
I'd like
what we're.
that. Yeah, let's connect the two of us and make a time to talk about what you have going on. That sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Like that could be part of the plans and objectives. Like how many value/skill exchanges can we generate amongst ourselves in X number of time, right? Like to use those skill sharing lists that are already there. That's part of like building the fabric.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know why it's not, you know, it sort of just popped in like the objective. You know, I mean, for me, the objective is still like is still like the needs and offerings. Yeah, I mean, there are other objectives, but like that's a very core one, you know. So if I come together with a group, to be like, hey, these are like my current needs. You know, how are we, you know, how can I get help meeting those?
And one of the original designs that of HSC, where it was, you know, helping those who operate in like the physical world but don't know how to translate what they do into the digital. That was a category that I thought still is like, I run into businesses all the time with like the worst online representation. It doesn't give what they do credit, and there is that call for more and more help and support for the physical human. Like there's a lot of transition and evolution going on, and building a stronger connection point between that. Like there is potential for that. Can those people pay enough? I don't know, but I would love to see HSC get to a point where, you know, like we have to like, no, there's too many members, get out of here. It's like we can't take on anymore. We're so rich with with you know, a population of people who want to contribute. Like that would be the dream. But yeah. And is that enough to sustain the interest or to utilize the skills that we have right now to, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's, I mean, I think that there's, there, I think so. I think that if you, I think, even with the people who are here, if we, like, I think that there's definitely ways where we can, within this kind of container and what we've been talking about, help each other. So that way, like the time that we put in is, of value to us. Right. And, there's all these ways we can do it, and skill shares, right? And there's like a skill share that I had in mind, which is about, I mean, it's random, but like, getting people on like a password manager. I don't know if anybody else, has like, is like in this world of like password, chaos and trying to remember things and having terrible insecure passwords. It's like, but that's just it's a world that I was in and I've left it because I did some research and I found this password manager and that could, like get that, like that could be a 1 hour kind of skill share.
Awesome. I'm into it.
It's saved me countless hours and it's like it's like a new life that I have.
Love it. Honestly, even if I don't end up using a lot of what I learn at many of these skill shares, hypothetical skill shares, I still will want to go and just learn about something that I wouldn't have otherwise known. Like, I'm excited about all of them.
Yeah, no doubt. And there's also this thing, right? Something, like just something Justin Joseph talked about at one of the meetings, and chatted with Newman about. But there's this way that I forget what it's called, but it's something where everybody gets a turn, sort of talking about like their leadership challenges. Or what right now are my leadership challenges, or my work challenges, right? And everybody sort of gets their turn. And then the group kind of like sits in that, and people, share ideas and things. And it's like, that can be powerful.
The case clinic.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that's one of the probably the most powerful things that I would be looking for, is honestly, it's more or less like a support group or that sense of connection. Yeah. The moon's nodes have passed through a different gate, and so this affects the group collective kind of consciousness. And the words that were used were disorder and shock. And so it's having the ability to respond to disorder and shock through recognition and adaptation. So it's like this fear of the future is going to be consuming the humans for the next little while. And it was stressing, this article was stressing an individual's ability to really be able to be clear in your individuality and to be able to operate and provide the needs, your own needs, the only way that like you can. So it's an interesting, it's like that when someone says trust your gut, listen to your heart, like what does that really mean for you? Where is that information coming from, like beyond the mental capacity to process stories, right? And so it's interesting that we are interested in a group collaboration, but in order to reach that point of collaboration, we each need to be quite strong in our own individual identity and expression, so that we
Mm.
know what we have to offer, we know where to draw boundaries, and that's what makes the group function smoothly, instead of, you know, just saying yes to keep people happy, and so forth. So there's this, that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes it's the case clinics, that idea of coming together with like-minded or people that you can trust have a similar future vision, or at least have a similar relationship with their own experience, and a willingness to share from there, and how much value there is in that, in keeping me sane in this like experience of like online breaking, you know, new boundaries, and leading the way into this new earth. It does feel very essential to have homies that you can trust, right? And that can help you process stuff, because sometimes yeah, like I said, getting wrapped up in a story, and to hear multiple perspectives, it's like, oh, I never would have thought it that way, and it can be a lifesaver. So I'll just throw that in there. I guess I'm warming up.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a proposal.
Woman.
Yes. What about if the next 2 months are like alternating, like 1 week is a skill share and the other week is like a visioning, how are we doing the operations, no, that kind of conversation. And that we give it 2 months, and that ideally would give space and time for those folks who aren't here today, for example, to also like voice in and be able to be there for some of that.
Mm.
I like that.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love it.
Yay.
Thank you. I love it. And you know what popped in for me, which feels, you know, totally complementary with that, is like, you know, something that I could do is I can actually just get, you know, like, you know, very concrete, and like write down the tasks that I'm doing. Right. You know, like because they're very, you know, there's very specific tasks, you know, because right now it's not like I'm, you know, doing so much, but right. It's like, okay, I'm facilitating a meeting. I am writing an email. I am sending an email. I am, you know, so it's like if we picture those as blocks, you know, then why don't I, you know, in this process, you know, just as part of the process, you know, write out what all those blocks are.
That would be really helpful for us to pick up them blocks. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to like take them out of the box and throw them on the ground, right?
Yeah. Let's take a look at them.
So
Yeah.
make a big mess and reorganize.
Yes.
Yeah. What's more fun
Playing
than
with blocks.
playing with blocks? Yay. So wait, so say again what you said. I was just sort of taking it in. So every week, can you say what you said again,
Yeah,
Sarah?
so 1 week a skill share. And I would suggest that as many of us as possible try to chime in / lead those meetings. So Rob's not. And then on the alternate week, more of a meeting like this, like the collective is coming together to plan the collective.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Beautiful.
that is 50% less organizing work for Rob when it comes to these. I hope that's awesome. I love this idea.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, the collective is coming together to plan the collective. Yeah. And I think that's good. I think 2 months is lovely, you know, and that gives it space. It gives people time to come and to chime in, and then, you know, that also you know, it's also like a deadline, right? Like Natalie was saying. That's a clear, you know, goal, and you know, and we're saying, okay, at the end of that 2 months, we're gonna have more of a container and a plan, and then know how to move forward.
I feel like this could also help us with retention rates, like member retention, because I think a lot of people come to a meeting and they're stoked, but then they don't really see what's happening. And we've only had one Skillshare, which was awesome. But if they're every other week, like that's a lot to come back for. I could see a lot of my friends who do website design and are, just getting into it, just wanting to join in every other week. Oh my God, it's going to be a great community. So
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah. So how do we I mean, do we start that right? Do we start that right away? Is there a Skillshare next week?
Yeah,
What is it?
passwords.
What is it? Who's
Cool.
doing it? Do you want?
But then,
If
but then
Rob's
that's
too
you again,
tired,
Rob. Yeah,
yeah,
if you want someone else to do it, that's fine.
yeah, I could
I
definitely do one if that
oh,
helped.
oh yeah, you were actually sort of kind of up next in the queue, anyways. You want to do? You want to
Yeah,
do one?
I'd be happy to. It would help me to talk about it and hear people's feedback on socials. I love talking about socials. Can't wait.
Yeah, Skillshare. I know that's going to excite people. Probably more. I'm probably more than me being like, "Hey, I'm Rob. Come have a
Cool.
meeting. Let's exchange
Oh,
value." Come on, people. Let's collaborate. Come to a meeting.
it's like maybe a Excel, Google Excel, Google Sheet. We could put a
Oh
calendar
yeah.
looking thing on a Google Sheet, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do. Who wants to do that? It could be super
Oh
simple.
yeah, I could do that. I'm on Google Sheets right now.
Okay. Yeah, and you can put it on the meeting notes thing, can send it out. But yeah, that would be great. Maybe we just sort of well, we can figure it out. But maybe I mean, no, maybe for now we say okay, we have a Google Sheet for the Skillshare sign up, and maybe I could start listing the blocks on that on another tab, and maybe we put the needs and offerings on that, and then just sort of say figure out what we're going to do or not do with the member portal. I don't know what people think of that.
Can we use the member portal for now, or is it burdensome in some way?
No, I mean, I might take off the form that's on there now. I mean, I can put another form, for people to sign up, but I might take off that other form because it costs like $24 a month
Hmm.
for that form because it's a form that syncs with Notion. Otherwise, no, there's no reason we couldn't just continue to use the member portal if people still like that. I mean, it's set up, right? It's already created, so
Yeah, and it's populated. I mean, some fair
totally
amount.
populated. Yeah, I think honestly, the only friction, I think the main friction on the member portal was just people joining and then people figuring out and how to learning how to use it and how to navigate Notion and all of that.
I'm just gonna say that for 2 weeks after Zoe's share, I'd be happy to lead something. It would be less of a Skillshare and more of a lab about coaching clients, like an experience I have where clients hire me to work on a project, and then they also end up wanting a fair amount of emotional support and et cetera. And I imagine because all of us are like personable people, these things can happen. So I'd love to lab that.
Great. That's a great idea. Love it.
That would be on February 6th.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And in these skill shares, right, they can come from you know, they just like, you know, Saya said, okay, hey, I have an idea from a Skillshare. They can come, you know, from directly from members. They can also come from, you know, like I could just say, hey, what do people want a Skillshare in? You know, so, you know, that's another, right? And there's, we could develop, you know, like methodologies for people to, you know, put in requests and things like that.
Mhm.
That's great. So that's like 2 weeks of, that's basically a month.
Right. And so then all we would need right now is to say who's leading the meeting next. Oh, wait a minute. Am I getting my dates wrong? Next week is Zoe. I'm getting my dates wrong.
Yeah, next week is
And
Zoe.
then it's a collective meeting on the 23rd. On the 30th would be a Skillshare. I cannot do that day. So and then the 13th of February would be the next Skillshare. So I could do the 13th.
Okay. We could also, I don't know what we could just make next week like our meeting, you know, like you know, maybe the first kind of like collective
yeah.
meeting, and you know, and then you know, other folks, you know, we can start to build that and then make this Zoe Skillshare the 23rd. You know, and one main reason I'm thinking about that is then that gives like an extra week for people to get notice about the Skillshare, you know, and hype it up, because that's a like that one I think people would be interested in, you know.
It could be recurring too.
Yeah, yeah. But it might be, you know, it might be nice to have a week to kind of pump it up.
Hey. Sure. Cool.
If people are okay with, you know, waiting and then just doing, you know, more, you know, our number one collective creation.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. That's amazing. Thank you all. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Basil, also for showing up, and I don't know. Yeah, it's amazing. It sounds like a real, you know, simple but powerful plan. Woot woot.
What?
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you, folks. It was really nice to see all your jolly faces.
Yeah.
And
It's good to see you too.
Yeah. Good to see everybody too. And Newman, if you're still watching, hi. Yeah. Thanks everybody. I really appreciate it. And this is exciting. Yeah, I think this is exciting. I think it's good. I think
Yeah.
it's kind of like the
Great.
next new year, new us.
Bye for now, folks.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Right, is Natalie in Boulder or where is she?
She's in Canada. Bye,
Oh,
Saya.
Natalie's in
Yeah,
Canada.
she's in like the, I don't know, Canadian tundra or something. No, I'm sort of being silly, but no, she's in like near Alberta. She's, I think, about 2 hours from Calgary.
Mhm. She's up there. Copy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Soon. Thanks, Zoe.
See
Yeah.
you guys. Have
Yeah.
a great one.
All right. Yeah. We'll see you. We'll see you all. Thanks, Zoe. Thanks,
I'll
Basil.
send the Google sheet to where?
Oh yeah, right. Well, you can put it up on you can put it on Discord, and then you could put it on
Okay.
the meeting notes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Shall do.
Yeah.
See y'all.
Bye, y'all.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. You can stop the recording.